some of the money for the development of RU46 came from the National Institute of Child Health and Human Services in the U.S.
Wow.
So we have our federal tax dollars funding the drug development of a luteolytic drug like RU46. It's very sad, and I was very discouraged to find that when I was looking over the drug development literature. And I think it's something that we have to acknowledge, that there has not been the political will to remove the drug. And in fact, there has been a strong political will to keep the drug because we funded it. We funded the development. So RU46 is approved in France, and then the Clinton administration writes to Roussel-Uclaf and says, bring the drug to the U.S. And Roussel-Uclaf said, no way, baby, because we're not facing the lawsuits that are going to come from it. And he says, you need to do it anyway. So he brokers a deal between Population Council, Planned Parenthood, and Roussel-Uclaf, where Roussel-Uclaf sells the right to manufacture and distribute for, I don't know, $1. I don't know what they exchanged. Basically gave them the right to manufacture and distribute. But Planned Parenthood and Population Council don't manufacture anything. But they form a shell company called Danco, which has its assets in the Cayman Islands so that it can't be sued.
Wow.
And Danco doesn't manufacture anything, so they contract with Hualin Pharmaceuticals in China to manufacture. Hualin Pharmaceuticals was at that time under censure from the FDA for its drug manufacturing practices.
Wow.
You can't make this stuff up. So anyway, that's where Danco is getting its drugs from China, a censured company, and distributing it all over the country with no legal risk. And that's why they haven't been sued, because they don't have a deep pocket because their assets are in the Cayman Islands. So it's really a brilliant setup. It's a heinous setup, and it's brilliant. And it was a top-down scheme to bring this drug into the U.S. and then market it as some kind of an advance when it actually isn't. It's actually very dangerous. And you hit on some of the things that happened. I was just up to 2016, but what happened in 2019 and 2020? Now the drug is basically available over the counter, even though it's not approved as over the counter. But when you have an online ordering system and you don't have to see a pharmacist, all you have to do is log in and say, I want the drug. Here's my address, and here's my credit card, and you get the drug. There's no approval in that at all. There's no oversight in that at all. And the patients are told, when you go to the ER, tell them you're miscarrying, which is really dangerous for patients. When RU46, Mifepristone, was first approved, it was approved under a special federal permission called Subpart H. Subpart H was a way that the FDA could fast-track drugs that were used for life-threatening conditions. Okay. So to approve RU46, they had to define pregnancy as a life-threatening condition. Well, it's not. It's a natural process. Most women are very happy about it. The overwhelming majority of women have no complications. So it was approved under that fast-track authorization. They said, we have evaluated the adverse events that have been reported since 2016, and there was no increase in the reported adverse events, and therefore we know that this is safe. I'm like, you dropped the requirement.
That's
You gotta
crazy.
be kidding me. But that's literally their justification for allowing this willy-nilly use of the drug. That's the whole reason why this report from Ethics and Public Policy Center was so important, because they went back and looked at insurance claims data. Women who had purchased Mifepristone and misoprostol, what were their complication rates? And they found 22 times the complication rates that the FDA stated that they found in the trials that were done. These clinical trials are all done by the abortion industry. What do you expect? And some of those trials, I looked at them. Some of those trials ignored hemorrhage. Well, you got women hemorrhaging all over the place. And they just simply don't report it.
And to clarify, the pro-abortion industry does not care if you hemorrhage. They don't really care about your health. They don't want to know about it. They don't care about it. The FDA doesn't want to hear about it. So if you're sitting there and you're hemorrhaging, you have an infection, unless you die, the FDA does not care. And at that point, it's too late. This is crazy that this drug is allowed on the market the way, and it's irresponsible. It's malpractice. It's abuse of
Yeah.
power. It's crazy. It gets me very upset. On October 2nd of 2025, the FDA approved another generic version of Mifepristone. Why is this significant?
Well, this adds one more source of Mifepristone being peddled online like any other drug peddler. And the FDA could have waited until they completed their safety review. It is unbelievable to me that they approved this generic, which actually I think the application came in like 4 years ago. They approved this generic before they completed their safety review of the drug.